Hello, my name is Jeff Mann, and I'm a professor of religious studies here at Susquehanna University. As such, I teach in a division of academia known as the humanities. Nevertheless, I have friends and colleagues who teach in the natural sciences, and many of them are nice people. One thing I've often noticed about scientists is that they're really proud of their disciplines, at times to the point of being prideful and condescending, but most of the time they're tolerable. But I don't begrudge them their pride, as there is an academic rigor to the natural sciences that I really respect. Science gets things done. Science makes progress in understanding the world. It uses precise terminology. It requires evidence, and then more evidence. It allows for correction. And when carried out well, it creates humility with regard to how much we really know, how much we can make mistakes, and how we need each other to actually make progress. The biggest advantage that the natural sciences have, that we in the humanities do not, is that scientists make progress through rigorous critique by their peers. If you publish a scientific paper, you better make sure all your ducks are in a row. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, or what you look like. What you wrote down in black and white is going to be analyzed and assessed by professional critics. So you better make sure your language is clear and precise, your methodology is impeccable, and your conclusions are carefully reasoned. If you don't, you're going to get blasted. And no one wants to get blasted. Now, contrast that with the humanities, where the topic of great concern these days is race relations. Everyone is talking about it and writing about it. However, unlike in the sciences, who we are, where we're from, and what we look like has a lot to do with how our ideas are received. Words can mean what we want them to mean, and we'll change the definitions post hoc to make our case. And so words like stereotype, racism, discrimination, bigotry, violence, microaggression, these can have different definitions from one scholar to another, from one article to another. Anecdotes often substitute for data, and analyses of the facts are overtly political. As such, what passes for scholarship or scholarly opinion on race relations is often pretty bad. Now, to be fair to those in the humanities, those in the natural sciences have an advantage. They are usually dealing with particulars that can be analyzed in a more objective way. They can physically dissect an animal. They can put chemicals in a test tube, fire lasers, or examine diatoms through a microscope. You can't take racism into the lab and carry out repeated experiments to figure out what it's all about. To make it worse, racial issues are really complicated. What exactly is going on in our country? What are the various causes? How do we improve race relations? What is actually making them worse? While we can't answer those questions in the lab, we can make well-reasoned and well-informed arguments. And then we can and should make use of the greatest benefit that scientists enjoy in their discipline: rigorous critique by their peers. This is how you make progress. And this is the point of this video. Everywhere I look in academia, when I see faculty and administrators discussing race, this essential aspect of the pursuit of knowledge is generally missing. Professors and deans and directors all lecture about race from a particular standpoint, what I would consider a more radical left-wing perspective. Are they right? Are their analyses solid? Do they base their claims on empirical data? Those questions are never asked because there is no venue to do so. These university employees lecture students in classrooms and at orientation about what racism, privilege, discrimination, and microaggressions are, and students are expected to just accept it. A bold student might occasionally challenge the narrative, but that is far from rigorous critique by one's peers. Speakers are invited to campus, and there may be a Q&A period where someone willing to stand up might be able to ask a question, but that is not rigorous critique by one's peers. Books are assigned by authors who all share the same basic perspective. We never read Thomas Sowell, Shelby Steele, or Jason Riley. And add to all this, that challenging the dominant narrative on race can get you labeled as a racist, or a butthurt old white man who should be fired. Trust me, I know from personal experience. Critique is discouraged by intimidation, where one's social identity or even your job is at risk. The result? Lousy scholarship. The dominant narrative on race is so confused, convoluted, contradictory that it is embarrassing to hear and read this material in an academic institution. People make some really bad arguments, but when there is no critique, they can get away with it. What is at stake is not purely academic. Race relations in this country are in desperate need of improvement. We all agree on that. So how do we improve things? What makes them better? What makes them worse? These are really important questions with real-world implications. So how do we do a better job of pursuing the truth, getting a better grasp on what is actually going on in our country and how we can improve things? Simple. Invite a diverse group of people to engage the issues. Don't privilege or disparage an idea because of the identity of its proponent. Make people defend their positions publicly when challenged by their peers. In other words, we must find ways to create rigorous critique of our ideas. Without that, we are doomed to privilege the positions of those with the most power, those handed the microphone who never need to face criticism. That's where we've been for a while, but things need to change. Will they? I'm willing. Are you?